Our next guest will be taking on Daniel Cormier at UFC Fight Night 68. He's currently on a four-fight win streak and is the winner of Tough 8. Arizona's own Ryan Darth Bader, welcome to Submission Radio.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be chatting to you, Ryan. You know, before we talk about your upcoming fight, we have to ask, what was it like fighting Phil Davis so early in the morning? I mean, it must have been like 3 a.m. when you guys fought. What was that like?
Yeah, it was a little different. It was about 3:30 a.m. You know, we didn't even go over to the venue until midnight. And we tried to keep on the schedule here in Arizona, which meant, Sweden is about 8 hours ahead of where I'm at right now. So I would stay up until, 5, 6 a.m., go to bed, wake up at 2:30 or 3 p.m., and just try to we kept that schedule the whole time, or tried to. So we were going, I work out at least once a day. Once I'm there, we're there 5 days early. And so we'd go work out at 2:30 a.m. to try to get used to it. But as much as you do, it's definitely still weird going out there and fighting at 3:30 in the morning. And so, I fought all different times throughout my career. I fought in Australia twice, and those are usually on Sunday morning, like 11 a.m., 10 a.m. So I've done really late nights, and I've done early mornings. So, it comes with the territory. I'm kind of used to it, and it kind of breaks it up a little bit.
Yeah, we really felt it as well on those Australian cards. And I imagine waking up at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, did you feel like one of those video game nerds that like wakes up in like the afternoon, just like plays some like World of Warcraft or Grand Theft Auto, except of course you instead were training for a fight?
Yeah, I actually felt like a vampire because in Sweden there's only a certain amount of daylight there, so it got dark at like 3 p.m. It got light at 8,
Wow.
9 a.m. and got dark at 3 p.m. So, we were pretty much the whole week it was dark out there, and so it was kind of depressing. You're not seeing the sun, especially me coming from Arizona, and so it's a little different, but at the end of the day, you're there to do a job, and whatever is thrown at you, you got to adapt. And once you go out there and you're standing across the cage from another guy trying to take your head off, everything else kind of falls away, and you're just kind of in the moment right then and there.
Well, take us back to the moment after you won the fight, Ryan. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning. You're in Sweden. What do? There's like people outside jogging. There's weird ones that jog before work. There's people hosing down the street. There's like some kind of street washer going down the street. And then you guys are like, woo, we just won. What do you guys do? Do you go out and party? Do you just crash and fall asleep? What do you do?
That's the thing. Usually afterwards you go out, have a few beers, hang out with your friends and family. This one, my wife was there, and I had a couple of friends there in my cornerman, and, by the time you get done with all the press and all that, it was like 6 a.m. in the morning, and by the time you get on the bus and go to your hotel, and so, I was starving too, and I didn't want to wait in line and breakfast. There's people up there eating on the buffet and stuff, and so we were actually leaving at like 1:30 to fly from Sweden to Prague. We're going to go to Prague for a few days. And so I went up to the hotel, looked in the fridge. All there was one beer in there, and I just drank a beer and went to bed.
Oh, wow.
Woke up. We celebrated in Prague, though, afterwards, so the next couple of days.
Well, the interview just took a turn. You have to tell us about Prague. What was that experience like?
Yeah, Prague was cool. It was in, it's the middle of winter there, but we had fun in Sweden, but you can't, I can't do much. I'm there for a job to do in this fight, and then we didn't, I didn't stay after at all. Went to bed, woke up, went to the airport, went to Prague. So Sweden was very cool. It was definitely different, and then we went to Prague, and it was definitely, I've never really been into Central Europe, and so everything was so old. The architecture was awesome. The food and beer was great, so we had a good time there, especially all guilt-free right after a fight. I don't have to worry about what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, so I could pull that loose and have fun a little bit. So that was a really, really good time.
Yeah, wonderful. Nothing going straight to the hips after the fight. Now, your opponent, Daniel Cormier, was the last man to fight for the title against Jon Jones. Before we talk about him and yourself, what were your thoughts on his fight with Jon, and specifically the way Daniel fought?
I thought he did a good job in the first couple of rounds. He put the pressure on Jones and didn't really let him use his reach. And then he started to fade a little bit and kind of let Jon kind of control the fight after that. And it kind of became like a little ego thing with Cormier at the end, just trying to go for that takedown the whole time, when I thought he could have been busier doing other stuff and maybe potentially winning that fight. But I think he kind of let it get away from him, and Jon Jones kind of controlled the fight after that. The thing about Cormier, as opposed to maybe like somebody like I fought last, Phil Davis. He was hard to hit. He's very awkward and all that kind of stuff. You never feel like you're ever set up to throw a punch. But Cormier, you can hit him. He comes straight forward. You know what he's going to do. He's going to get in your face. He's going to try to bully you with that overtie, with punches, and then with his single leg and wrestling. So, for me, we got, after watching that title fight, that's his first loss. He has a taste of that, and I'm going to give him another one.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, his first loss, and obviously we saw Daniel Cormier be, very, very emotional after fight. I mean, completely understandably. But having that first loss on his resume, do you think that changes him? Do you think that maybe, maybe inside mentally his aura might be a little bit, I don't want to say shattered, but, altered? Maybe he's got less confidence than previously.
Yeah, it could go both ways. It could motivate you, but it also, something in the back of your head, you have that, going undefeated and winning all those fights, you're like, man, maybe I am unbeatable. I'm this and that. And then all of a sudden you get beat and you're like, wow, well, man, I really don't want to make it 2 in a row. Maybe you fight a different way or somewhat, and the opposite can happen too. You're hungry. You don't want that to ever happen again, all that. So you train harder, come out harder, So at the end of the day, I'm expecting the best fighter in Daniel Cormier that there is. For me, it's a huge opportunity. I feel like there's no pressure on me. I have a 4-fight win streak. I've beaten some really good guys. I'm in the top 5. He just fought for the title. I'm sure the UFC wants to see him back in the title fight with Jones. They sold, crap load of pay-per-views, with their old fight and smack talk and all that. So I feel all the pressure is on him to get back to there. And for me, I'm just going to keep riding this win streak, and I get to go out there and kind of let loose and be free in my techniques and in my fighting style. Just who cares what's happening? Let's get out there and mix it up. And then, that's when I always fight my best.
Yeah, and you've been looking pretty good as of late. Obviously, you just mentioned before, some things that Daniel does that you think you can take advantage of in the fight. Apart from those things that you mentioned, like him walking forward and him being a bit easier to hit than Phil Davis, what are some other advantages that you feel that you have in this fight against Daniel?
Well, the thing is, he's been fighting a lot of guys that, aren't really wrestlers. He fought Pat Cummings, yes, and he fought Jones. He lost to Jones. We didn't see too much in the Cummings fight, and so I think a lot of times people are just kind of surprised with that whole wrestling, and he has some different things that if you're not aware of, and if you're not in that wrestling world, and you're not thinking there much, but then Daniel Cormier gets a hold of you, and you're going for a ride, and there are little things that can negate, his takedowns and all that kind of stuff. It's just high level wrestling, and with people that don't know much about wrestling and stuff in there with Cormier, and obviously he's a very, very accomplished and very good wrestler, they're going to have a tough time. So, I factor that, the whole MMA wrestling part of it, with my ability, if he comes to try to wrestle me or, I can take him down also. I feel I can put my hands on him, and I feel like if I can put my hands on anybody in the division, I can knock him out. So I know, he's not going to be moving sporadically and running around and stuff like a Phil Davis was, so where I felt like I never got set and I couldn't even begin to throw more than one punch because he was everywhere. I know I'm going to hit Cormier. So I just feel comfortable. I feel if he takes me down, I'll get back up. I feel like I have the ability to take him down, have the ability to land some heavy shots on him and put him away, really.
We're already excited. Ryan, will you be doing anything new or specific in training to prepare for DC, like bringing in new training partners, and will you be doing your camp at your gym, Power MMA and Fitness?
Yeah, we usually bring people in, that kind of emulate their partners. I'll get a bunch of, we have Ed Ruth. He's a 3-time national champ. He's kind of the guy that Jon Jones actually had in his camp helping him out for DC. Big, strong wrestler. He's in Arizona now. They'll be using him a little bit. I'll be using different guys the same body type, and working a lot on what Cormier does as far as in the wrestling game, and obviously in stand-up and all that. But just drilling a lot of those techniques and getting that body type. I have a few good guys as far as a good wrestler, like I was mentioned with Ed, and then Daniel Sarafian, he has the same exact body as Cormier, and sparring him, he just goes 100% every time. They kind of emulate each other on stand-up. And so I'll just mix it up, and I'll bring in some other guys too, and, have a good camp, be prepared for a 5-rounder. I've gone through a full 5 rounds a couple of fights ago, and so I've been there before, and obviously he has too. So I feel like I have an advantage in that department too, where he kind of starts really slowing down. And my 5-rounder, with OSP, was a grinding kind of wrestling match, one of the most tiring kind of fights you can have, and I felt good in there. So I just feel confident about this fight, and I feel like I have nothing to lose. I get to go in there and prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, certainly right, Ryan, and we're looking forward to seeing that fight. Now, let's go back in time just a little bit. I mean, your last loss came at the hands of Glover in 2013. Now, not even 2 years later, you're riding an impressive fight, win streak, and you're ranked number 5 in the division. I mean, that's a pretty impressive turnaround in such a short time. What do you attribute that to?
Just mental fortitude and toughness. I don't let these losses kind of get at me. I don't dwell on them. It's kind of, I've been in the sport long enough. I have 25 fights or so. This will be my 17th fight in the UFC. I hate to lose, and I'm a competitor. And at the same time, even though I hate it so much, I got to let it go and get better. So with the Glover fight, I felt like I was fighting awesome. I was, letting it go. I was a big underdog there, and that's kind of what I'm talking about as far as carrying it over into the Daniel Cormier fight. I felt like I can go out there and just be free and let some stuff fly. So I rocked him good 2 or 3 times and made a mistake and paid for it. And then, I just went back and learned from it, tightened everything up, and just kept it rolling. So for me, it's just letting things go and kind of what we were talking about earlier too, is not letting those losses kind of eat at you or affect the way you fight the next time out. And so, for me, every fight is a new fight. 0-0 record-wise, and just going out there and fighting the guy, because all it is one night, at a certain time, whether it's 3:30 in the morning or 10 a.m., in Australia or whatnot. You're fighting that one guy at that one time, and it's whoever's the best at that one moment. It's not who he's beat or who I've beat or who I've lost or anything like that. It's whoever can put it together at that one moment.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's definitely working, and obviously you're now riding a 4-fight win streak heading into your fight against Daniel Cormier. Are you starting to feel the pressure knowing that you're closing in on a title shot?
No, there's pressure every single fight. When you're on a losing streak, you're worried about wanting to stay in the UFC, not losing another one. When you're winning, you're worried about climbing up to the top. And, when you just have a fight in front of you, it's just pressure enough to go out there and win. Collect your show and win money, and put a W in the column and keep climbing that ladder. And so I don't think there's ever a fight where there's not tremendous pressure. And so for me, I just kind of keep that narrow-mindedness and look at that one fight in front of me, and then you start racking them up, and it'll take care of itself. If I go out there and I beat Daniel Cormier, especially if I go out there and beat him in a convincing manner, you look at the top 5 right now. It's Jon Jones, Anthony Johnson fighting in May. Anthony Gustafsson just got knocked out by Anthony Johnson. Rashad is injured, and that leaves Daniel Cormier and I in the top 5. So potentially the winner of this fight could get the next title shot. But I don't really let that get to me and look ahead at all. I got a tough guy in Cormier. I focus on that. If I go out there and knock him out, I think I deserve that title shot. Knocking him out and being on a 5-fight winning streak and fighting the guys I've fought. So you never know what happens, but that's kind of my mindset going into this fight.
Yeah, that title belt would look great over at the Mantle of Power MMA. It would look good when people come into the gym. With a win over DC, there's a huge chance, like you mentioned, that you'd earn a title shot against the champ, Jon Jones. Obviously, with people that don't know, you last fought Jon Jones all the way back in February of 2011. Have you had a chance to think what you would do differently in a rematch? Obviously, you feel that you're close to a title shot.
Oh, yeah. I'm a totally different fighter than, I came into the sport just a wrestler, and that's it. I didn't really have anything else, and by getting the right people around me and everything, I've definitely grown as a fighter. And so I definitely want to get, a rematch, and because I'm definitely 100% not the fighter I am, and the fighter I am today would whoop my own ass that I was back then. So, I love the challenges. I love fighting the best guys. I've done that my whole career. We never have turned down a fight. We never shied away from any kind of fight. Fighting the Rampages, Machitas, Jon Jones when nobody wanted to fight him, all the way through. And so same with Glover. Nobody wanted to fight Glover. They kept turning him down or getting injured. We stepped up and fought him. So that's what we do. We want to fight the best, and I want to be the best. So got to beat those guys, and who knows what happens then. They're fighting in May, him and Anthony Johnson. It could be a new champ, or it could be, Jones again. So it'd be awesome to get a shot at Jones again, and then it'd also be awesome to have some new blood in there.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just one of those things at this point where he's been so dominant. I think people are almost forgetting that, oh, wait, yeah, there is a new challenger. But just quickly going back to that night in February, things obviously went well for Jon Jones, and he ended up getting the title shot after your fight. Assuming you get that title shot, do you feel like you would have sort of come full circle and gotten that title shot that you originally deserved?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of is letting me know that what I'm doing, are the right things, like across the board. I was on a 2-fight losing streak. I lost to Tito, Jon Jones, and then to come all the way back, re-enter the top 10, be on a 4-fight win streak, go through and be in the top 5, beat Daniel Cormier, and for me, knowing that I could do it that whole time when other people are doubting, that's my biggest thing. I know I can, get things done, whatever I set my mind to, and you're always going to have the people that go, I don't think so, he's not that good, or whatnot, and so that would just solidify that, knowing that I had the mental toughness and the desire and the dedication to go through that whole thing again, pick myself back up, get on win streaks, beat the guys I needed to beat to get back to a title, and I'm not old by any means, I'm 31 years old, but I've been in the sport for a while now, ever since Ultimate Fighter, and like I said, this will be my 17th fight in the UFC. There's not too many people that, have that many fights there, so for me, putting it all together, having the right people around you is what it's all about right now, and I think now's my time.
Certainly right, Ryan. Very exciting times for Ryan Bader. Just last question on Jon. Obviously, he's had some moments of controversy. He's a much loved, and some people don't really like him as a champion as well around the world. People have different sort of opinions of him. Just wondering, were you surprised at all when you heard about his recent drug, obviously, controversy where he tested positive for cocaine?
I don't ever judge anybody because, I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of as anybody else, and everybody I think was surprised at that. More so that it was so close to the fight, 6 weeks or 4 weeks or however long out, from the fight that it was. That was more surprising than anything. Outside of the training camps and whatnot, people are going to do whatever they're going to do, and I guarantee there's more people that are doing that kind of stuff. But that it was surprising that close to the fight, and you have a lot of responsibilities as a champ. You have a lot of people looking up to you and all that. So you got to be conscious of that. But, like I said, I don't really judge anybody because you don't know the circumstances or what's going through their head and all that kind of stuff. So, but it was definitely surprising.
Yeah, good attitude. And Ryan, we are going to round up this interview with something we call the Submission Radio Tap Out round. It's a bit of fun. We throw a bunch of fun questions at you and you answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right, you fought twice here in Australia, both wins, and you've also been here to do signings. What's your best road story from Australia?
Well, my best road story is actually not a positive one. I have a lot of positive stuff, but we were doing a little thing with Kenny Florian, and I was going. I went to Melbourne and then Brisbane, and we left our bags in there to do a signing, and somebody came and smashed out the window of the van and took our bag.
Oh,
and
shit.
I had like a nice watch in there, like a wedding gift, and then we had our passports, and Kenny Florian didn't have anything, and so we had to go to the U.S. Embassy and get all that kind of stuff. And when Dana and the UFC heard about it, they wrote us some pretty big checks of what we had all in there, from bags to, like I said, we had some cash in there, passports, a nice watch, all that kind of stuff. So, but other than that, I've had a great time in Australia. My favorite moment was when Cain Velasquez, myself, and CB Holloway, all ASU wrestling teammates, all won down there in Sydney, and we went to Bondi Beach after the next day and had a great day by the beach, drinking some beer, having fun, eating good food, and just laughing, having a good time. So that's one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, that was UFC 110. I believe you had some plane issues going into UFC 110 with CB, didn't you?
Some plane issues?
Yeah, weren't you guys stuck on the tarmac for a while or something like that?
No, not us.
Okay.
It was a long flight. Maybe we were delirious.
I have the wrong contacts at the air department. Now, if you could fight at any weight class for one fight, which weight class would it be and why? You can go any weight class that you'd like.
I would probably like to go up to heavyweight, doesn't matter like who you're fighting up there, but the whole heavyweight division, as far as you're the biggest guy, it used to be the heavyweight boxing champion was the baddest dude on the planet, so going up and testing myself against a bigger guy and seeing how that works, I've always kind of wondered that in the back of my mind, what the difference is between heavyweight and light heavyweight, and so I probably try to go up and challenge myself there.
Yeah, awesome. Now, Ryan, you've got a great nickname, Ryan Darth Vader. This is a question we've wanted to ask you for probably like at least 6 years. At any point, did you ever consider using the name Ryan Master Vader?
I actually have, and I told my coaches and our friends that I need to do it one time, before I retire. I need to throw it out there one time to see everybody's kind of face when they go. But it's one of those things where, I wonder if they're not going to take me serious or whatnot. But at the same time, I've been hearing that since I was young, and I've got a pretty good sense of humor where I don't take myself too serious. So I still plan on using it one time.
Yeah, maybe like for a Hall of Fame induction one day when you retire or something. Just pull it out randomly. Speaking of your sense of humor, me and Casper are still laughing over your Halloween costume from 2012. You've had some memorable ones. You had the drag queen, Care Bears, the Smurf costumes. I know it's very, very early and these things are pretty much top secret. But what are you cooking up for Halloween 2015? Can you give us some hints? Can you tell us what's happening?
There are no hints for that. Those costumes were literally kind of, I kind of work best at the last moment kind of deal. I procrastinate until I have to choose one, and then I go all out for I'll be up all night the night before making sure the costume looks good. We started that in college when we had probably a couple of the wrestlers, whatever, when we'd go out there to these. It was a block party in Scottsdale, and you get to enter a group contest. You can win all sorts of stuff, and so we won it as Ninja Turtles and Care Bears. And I probably shouldn't be saying this, but the only time I've ever been arrested or whatnot, there was a fight going on. I wasn't even involved in the fight, but I was there. I was dressed as a Care Bear, with little tiny cheerleading shorts on. I was all, painted up. I had ears on, a little nose. And they told me to leave and with everybody else. And I came back because one of my friends got in a fight. And they told me, they looked at me and they go, arrest that Care Bear right there. So I got arrested and thrown in the drunk tank as a Care Bear with ears on, a nose, and all that kind of stuff. Only time I've ever been in any type of jail or anything. And I walked in there, the drunk tank, and people were like, what the hell is going on? I'm dressed as a Care Bear. And then all of a sudden, CB, as another blue Care Bear, gets thrown in at the same time, and we're freaking people out. We got released right away and all that, and no charges, but it was a good time. So, but we'll see for this year.
I feel like the people in that I know it's not jail, but I feel like the people in that drug tank. You know how there's gangs and cliques in prisons. You got the Mexicans and the whatevers. I feel like people would start thinking there's like some new Care Bear clique. Like, hey man, they're multiplying those Care Bears.
I had to go in there because all I had was tiny shorts on. I had no shirt, and no pants, and so they made me wear this paper suit kind of deal. And so been drinking a little bit, and they threw us in there, and people were in there. I was like, what are you guys in here for? And they're like, oh, drinking and driving. They're like, how'd you get that suit? What are you in here for? And I go, murder. They all kind of got quiet. Jackasses in there.
That's awesome. Now, speaking of good times, you were part of one of our favorite seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, Season 8 with Frank Mir and Big Nog as coaches. From Sam Kaplan getting knocked out by Tom Lawler to Vinny Magalesh pissing on a pillow to Seaman in the sushi to Junie Browning in general, there were some crazy stories coming from that season. What was the whole experience like for you, and what was your biggest takeaway?
You know, it was fun for me. I look back with fond memories of that whole deal. Sometimes when you were in there, you're kind of like, I want to get out of here. I can't stand it, or can't stand some of the people or whatnot. You know, but I still have a lot of good friends, and you know, we have a little like WhatsApp chat thing going on with a couple of guys like Vinny, me, Kyle Kingsbury, Tom Lawler, Camp Lynn, you know, and Efren. You know, still consider all those guys friends, and then we just had a great time, you know, and everything that kind of went down in that season was pretty true to form, you know. So we, at that time in my life, you know, I was right out of college wrestling, you know, I got put into the kind of the same environment I've been used to being in with my college roommates. Wrestlers are all crazy and stuff, and all we did is train and had fun, and it kind of went into that Ultimate Fighter where I got to train the whole time. I got to work out with guys like Nogueira, Anderson Silva, you know, on a day-to-day basis, and get a short amount of fights, or get quite a amount of fights in a short amount of time. You know, so it was a good experience for me. I wouldn't do it again at this time in my life, but back then I definitely had fun.
Absolutely. It was, as Casper said, one of the highlighted seasons for a lot of us. Now, Ryan, you've got 3 kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have 3 kids under 3 years old. Yeah, 3 under 3.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, any chances that you'll nickname your family, wait for it, the Beta Bunch?
The Bader Bunch. I don't know. That's pretty soft, huh?
Well, you know, you're a dad now. We can't go for these drag queen costumes and the masturbator anymore. We got to go from a different angle. I'm just trying to think of you here, Ryan.
I know that's not bad. You maybe show up to a wrestling tournament and get the Bader Bunch coming after you. Kind of, I guess.
I mean, look, they're intimidating. The Brady Bunch was intimidating back in the day. You have all of them together in a dark alley, and they're pissed off at you.
True.
I mean, I'd be scared.
You don't want that. They might break out and dance or something and scare the hell out of you.
Yeah, a nice lullaby to sleep. Well, you know, speaking of guys that aren't exactly good at dance, you know, you fought some of the best light heavyweights in the world. I look at your resume. I mean, you fought a murderer's row. Who's been your toughest fight thus far?
I would probably have to say, you know, at the time, probably Machida, because I didn't really know what I was doing too much on my feet, and you know, he is obviously, that's his world right there, and I didn't get a chance to try to take him down or anything like that, or grapple with him, and so you know, he was definitely just a weird guy to figure out, and he had that patience where you're kind of like, all right, nothing's happening, I'm going to go after it, and then that's when he strikes, and that's when he makes you pay, and you've seen it time and time again in a lot of his fights, and so looking back, I'd probably have to say he was the hardest guy to fight.
Now, Ryan, you've had some good beards back in your day. I don't want to lie, you've had some good ones, but I have a bit of a bone to pick with you. The big one is, why don't we see Ryan Bader really go for it? You know, why don't you go for the Travis Brown, the Roy Nelson, the Santa Claus length beards? Is that? Do you think this is going to be in the future for Ryan Bader? Will we see you with a decently, you know, sized beard? You're already there most of the time, man. Why not just let it go and go? What's holding you back? What's holding you back?
I don't know. It's usually like, you ever try to grow your hair long and then you have it like halfway and you're like, man, I look like a douchebag. I gotta cut it. You know, you just have to get through that stage. So for me, it's getting through that weird, like, this is uncomfortable, I look like a weirdo kind of stage. And so maybe it's in the cards one day. I do want to get a little longer, but I have to get through that middle weirdness.
As long as you don't have the big beard and you call yourself Master Beta, because then you're just going 2 for 2 and people will make associations and be like, man, where's this guy coming from? Now,
yeah, then you're just going too far, right?
Yeah. Just a couple of quick predictions before, and then we'll let you go, Ryan. You know, your training partner, CB Dollaway, is facing Michael Bisping, UFC 186. How is the other Sun Devil looking, CB Dollaway, thus far, and who do you think wins and how?
Yeah, he's looking great. CB, when he's on his game, he's one of the, I would put him beating anybody in the division, you know, and he just has to show up mentally for that, and he's been looking awesome. I know he's been wanting a shot at Bisping for a long time, you know, as it seems everybody else does, but you know, he's got this fight in front of him, and Bisping's a huge name. You know, it doesn't matter if he's coming off a loss or a win or whatnot. You know, people know him and they're going to tune in to watch him fight, and so I think this is a fight for CB, you know, to put him in that next level. He's coming off a fight with Machida where he felt embarrassed that, he didn't even get to really show any skills or fight, got liver kicked right away. And so I know he's hungry. He's looking awesome in the gym. His mind's right. And so, like I said, CB will give anybody problems in that division when he's on.
Finally, Ryan, the prediction that we want to find out from you now is your prediction against DC at UFC Fight Night 68. Give it to us. How do you plan on beating Daniel Cormier?
Well, I want to go out there and, I've had a couple, 4 or whatever decisions the last couple fights. I want to go out there. I want to stop him. I want to make a statement. Go out there and knock him out and earn that next title shot.
Well, we can't wait to see it. June 6th is UFC Fight Night 68. It's in New Orleans. Ryan Bader versus Daniel Cormier. We can't wait, guys. Don't forget to follow Ryan Bader on Twitter at Ryan Bader. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. We'll do it again.